Greetings and welcome back to the greatest show in the galaxy, the show where I, the curator, discuss my personal favorite show of all time, personal favorite franchise of all time, Doctor Who. And yes, I am recording this from work because of scheduling conflicts. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Not in character, unfortunately. I couldn't really bring my uh, curator outfit to work today. That would have been hard to walk around with. But like I said, it's worth it because the guest I have on is someone I haven't worked with on this show for about a year. And I'm so excited to finally talk to this person again. Say hello to my good friend, Mr. Ryan Payne. How have you been, sir? We've even talked in a year.
Yeah, it's really been a while, honestly. But I'll be honest, like life just really gets in the way, or time in the most in the better sense just got in the way.
Yeah, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Well, I've been living through a war, so it can't be that bad, right?
uh, I mean, shit. It could things could be really, really. I mean, I could say things be worse, but yeah, going through a war is not an ideal setting. It's really not.
Yep. But like you said, life just gets in the way. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here to talk about some fun stuff like Doctor Who, and of course, you probably remember this from all the other episodes we already did. We're starting off with the birthday section.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, because of scheduling conflicts, we're gonna go from the 30th of January to the 5th of February. We're gonna cover the past week that just went by. Uh, in the next episode, which we're hoping on recording tomorrow as of the recording of this episode. So, starting us off, we got several people on the 30th. We have Oscar winner Olivia Colman. She, of course, played a very minor role in the 11th hour, the first episode to feature Matt Smith, but I mean, it's Olivia Colman. So, you know. Also interesting, she played herself alongside Sean Pertwee in the Five-ish Doctors reboot. Did you see that one?
I can barely. It's really been it's been years since I rewatched Five. It wasn't something I rewatched a lot, but wow.
It's a
I
sort
think there,
of
regarding the Five Doctors reboot, it's kind of like with the 11th hour. I would have to definitely watch it to remember like where she pops up. But although talk now, I mean honestly, with the 11th hour, it's more like in my brain because Matt Smith really like shined and Karen and Arthur were so great in that episode. So I know exactly where she was with Five Doctors. Yeah, I would have to rewatch that again to find out where she popped up in the movie, where she
it's
popped up in that.
you can find it on YouTube or Daily Motion. It's basically it's the old classic Doctors who got left out of the Day
Oh
of
no,
the
yeah, I
Doctor.
remember it. Yeah, it's Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. I know that Paul McGann shows up in it. You know, it's pretty. Yeah, that was like it was something they released before the 50th anniversary. It's just like, oh, where does she pop up in it?
It's the beginning. It's like the opening scene, just her and Sean Pertwee just talking about not being invited to the Doctor Who party for no reason.
Okay. Okay, shit. I mean, oh, okay. If it was very quickly, I can understand why.
Yeah, but it's a funny scene. Now, also on the 30th, we have Mr. Peter Brachacki. This is the only picture I could find of the guy. He was a BBC designer, and the interesting bit is the only episode he's actually credited on as a designer is An Unearthly Child, the
Hmm.
first ever episode. Now, worked on that one and just left, but that does kind of mean he was the first person to ever design the TARDIS interior. So, got to give credit where it's due, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can. Speaking of the 50th, you can see it in an adventure in space and time. He's the guy that you see can kind of put some things together. And he look, here's your TARDIS.
Ah.
So, actually got to appear in a documentary of sorts. Now, also on the 30th, we have Miss Daphne Ashbrook. you recognize. I can see from your expression you recognize the name. Yeah,
Yes,
she
I do.
yeah, she played Grace Holloway, Doctor Grace Holloway, in the TV movie with Paul McGann. She's played a couple of other characters on Big Finish, most notably Captain Ruth Matheson in a part of the Vault series, which also brings back Yi Ji Cho, who played Chang Li in the movie.
Hmm.
They got the two actors from the movie as completely different characters in the same series on Big Finish, which is I feel is kind of interesting. And they both met a different version of the Master, which is also interesting. Speaking of now, a character who kind of never actually met the Master, aside from like a brief mention, on the July 1st, my all-time favorite companion of all time, the one, the only Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane Smith, and I think it's also no, it's we're a couple months out from her year passing. Yeah, she April 19th. So sorry, my bad. I got my dates mixed up. On the 3rd of February, we have the one and only Mr. Warwick Davis. Of course, very famous for Star Wars, for Harry Potter,
Yeah.
for Willow,
Any
among
horror
others.
fans out there, he's the Leprechaun in the Leprechaun movies.
Yeah. And curiously, he only has like one Doctor Who credit is Porridge in Nightmares in Silver.
Yeah.
Not one of my favorite episodes for obvious reasons,
Yeah,
but
there's moments in the episode that stick out, but yeah, otherwise, like as a thorough episode, it's like it's honestly very shaky.
yeah. Uh, and here's a character I actually really love. On the 4th of February, Mr. Peter Butterworth, who, of course, I mean, this image pretty much gives it away. He's the meddling monk in The Time Meddler and several episodes of the Dalek Master Plan. I love this character so much, and I wish they bring this character back into the TV show. I'm glad that they brought him back on Big Finish, and I love what they did with him with the Rufus Hound version. But I mean, this guy needs to come back on television. And finally, on the 5th, Mr. Michael Sheen,
Mm.
the the other half of David Tennant, who of course played rather was the voice of House in The Doctor's Wife. That's his own Doctor Who credit, but I mean it's Michael Sheen.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he has like a lot of acting credit, like in some side in. I won't say major, but definitely in a lot of in some sci-fi programming, television and films. And honestly, yeah, I really was surprised. Like when I learned, like around series 8, that he voiced House. I'm going, are you serious? Like that's it? I mean, he does a great job. Honestly, he's fantastic. But I'm like, come on. I mean, at least have him show up in another variation.
still could happen. Still could happen. So for the lovely list of people we had today, thank you all. We quite literally could not do this without you. And speaking of people we couldn't do this without, here's some characters that the Doctor couldn't do what they do without companions. Now, this being the month of February, of course, being is uh, Black History Month
Hmm.
in America, that is. But well, this show is kind of global. It's a worldwide thing. So even though I technically don't live there, I still respect that and honor that. And I figured that the best way to represent that is to talk about Doctor Who's Black history, specifically Black characters, Black crew members, and so on and so forth. And since the modern series has a huge list of uh, people of color that we can talk about, I figured we would just limit it to the companions. And of course, it's even more relevant nowadays because we actually have more than one doctor of color.
Hmm.
So it's I think no better time to bring up this matter. Now, of course, as people who love Doctor Who as much as we do, could have guessed by now. You know where this is going. You know where we're going to start with Mickey Smith.
Yep.
played, of course, by Noel Clark. Now, Noel Clark, real life stuff aside, we're gonna just talk about the character himself. He, of course, was initially brought on as the boyfriend of Rose Tyler, who she very casually threw aside as soon as the doctor came into the picture. But Noel Clark, being Noel Clark, he's actually stuck around for more than a season, and actually became a proper true companion in season two. And you know what? He's kind of got this Neville Longbottom quality to him, where he starts out as kind of the incompetent butt of the joke, but as time goes on, he becomes a total badass, and he genuinely saves the day. And that's one of the things that I love about this character is there's the unlikely hero aspect of it. Uh, what do you start by sharing your feelings on Mikey for a bit?
I mean, I do share your sentiments there. His character had like a really great growth and arc, especially listening to some, well, not podcasts, but also watching videos, essays, how his character, how Russell T wrote him in the pilot episode. He was merely meant to be just kind of like a very I won't say oblivious, but he's meant to be kind of like a character. His character as a boyfriend was meant to be someone who didn't validate Rose, or it's kind of like like self-absorbed, self-involved, like in some of the earlier scenes with him. So when he got captured by the nesting consciousness and duplicated, it really was meant to be like, oh, you're not supposed to care. And then of course that moment happens, and of course the way they wrote him down, that in that confrontation towards the end where he's all cowardly. I mean, at first impression, you're like, oh, this guy's useless. He shouldn't be around him. So, in a way, you're not supposed to feel sorry for him when Rose leaves him like that. But, of course, when you rewatch it, you're going to be like, if I got captured by a alien life form and duplicated, and then seeing it in front of me like this with like plastic nest atons, yeah, I'd be freaked out. I would be in that guy's
Natural
situation.
response.
Yeah, a natural response, despite what kind of person he was meant to be a douche or not. And then, yeah, Rose leaving him like that. I mean, regardless what the relationship was, the way that Rusty started off with this character is ridiculous. I mean, when they came back for World War III and Aliens in London, yeah, his character had a big change. Like you can tell in that change with the writing.
It's
Like
been a hell of a
Rose,
year for him.
yes, like Rose really made a big mistake, not telling anybody what happened to her, not telling anyone where she was going, and you can clearly see what happens with him. That's why I love that confrontation they have. But still, but even though with this character, he doesn't let it stop him from wanting to help. Like he really like a true transformation. Like even before the change from Eccleston to Tennant, like you do see the small changes there to where he steps up, and then when they come back from Boomtown, like he's really like, oh yeah, I heard you guys coming a mile away. And I love how you really see with the confrontation, like he has no gripes against Rose in that series. Like he already has his own small arc from douche to supportive, to being supportive for Rose, all the way to the parting of the way. So I did like that small little mini arc for his character. And then yeah, he does develop that Neville Longbottom sense of in like self conscious insecurities when it comes to tenants, when Tenant comes around, especially with the school reunion. um oh my god, what's the one with the Mount Pompadour, that episode? Oh, Girl in the Fireplace, yeah. School
Yeah,
reunion, Girl in the Fireplace. Yeah, he does feel a bit like a bit of a side character. I mean, that's why obviously when
he's the
most people
Tin Dog.
yes, exactly. I was about to bring that line up. People say like, "Oh my god, I'm the Tin Dog," which I get from his point of view. It sucks, but seeing how valuable K9 is to the Doctor, I mean, of course, as us as fans were like, "Oh, if you know the history of K9 and how much he tagged on with the Doctor, being the Tin Dog is not a bad thing." But of course, for modern fans who never saw the classic series, we're going, "Oh, in a way you kind of see as useless," which is why I love this little retort back to the Doctor during Age of Steel, where he's going, "That's all you see me as, just the Tin Dog." I mean, not Mickey the idiot anymore. So when he does So I do like this whole time with him being tagging with the Doctor, he does develop a sense of confidence and a backbone to actually talk back to him. Now, that's kind of one of the things with the relationships between the companion and the Doctor I like is when they start developing their own sense of confidence. It's not much of a backbone though, depending on where they start, but the fact that they're confident in who they are and what they can do, to where if the Doctor doesn't see them as, well, I'll never say the Doctor will never see a companion as invaluable, but if the Doctor sees you as useless and you're still traveling with him, it's kind of to the point where you have to, like, really fight back. Like, I'm sorry, I'm traveling with you. You want me to travel with you, but you're calling me useless. I'm not going to take that anymore. And also knowing them in the alternate Earth, there's so much to go. Like, seeing his growth every season in those arcs really makes me glad that he didn't stick around, because it's more of like he becomes better when you see him again, especially when he shows back up during the Ghost. I think it was Ghost of London, or no, Army of Ghosts.
Army of Ghosts.
Yeah, it's where he is that badass character you saw, where he came back to Earth and he was inside Torchwood for, I don't know, maybe weeks or months, and nobody noticed of him learning everything. So it's one of the things I do like about Mickey's character. Like, when he shows back up, at least he's somebody who is the guy on the inside. Goes from the idiot to the man in the van to the tin dog to the man on the inside.
Yep. And even in some of the earlier episodes in Boomtown, he saves the world. Now, of course, he needed the Doctor's help.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the guy that pushes the button and launches the missile and blows up Downing Street. And I love in Boomtown the basically the he goes off on Rose. He yells at her. You left me. What was I supposed to do? Just be the guy that's sitting comfortably back home and waiting for you to come back. And I know that it didn't damage their relationship that fight. I mean, it's a fight, couples fight, but he still even though she did leave him again in that episode when all hell broke loose, and when he saw her coming back, he just walked away. Next episode, so as soon as he hears the TARDIS, he comes back running. So yeah, he's always loyal and faithful, kind of like a tin dog.
Yeah.
But he's the guy you want in your corner whenever you're in trouble. And
I was definitely gonna add on to that. I agree with you, especially when Doctor sends Rose back. At when the Daleks are from the Dalek Emperor, and the fact that he's just sitting there letting Rose vent, like having Rose trying to process her feelings and emotions for what the Doctor did, and how Rose can't let the Doctor die. So Mickey's there. He brings that freaking tow truck to open that panel so Rose can look into the heart of the TARDIS. So he does show that he is useful. He does has his own uses. He's not what Rose used to see him as. That's one of the things I like about his character. He does grow off screen. Sure, people want to go, how people want to see, I want to see his growth. I'm like, no, you are seeing it. We don't always need to see the full story. Like, the fact that Rose ditches him and those, like, I forget, like, the Doctor accidentally thought they were gone for a year or 2 years.
No, yeah. He thought they were gone for 12 hours. Turns out it was 12 months.
Yeah. Mickey's really suffered during that time. So when he does explode on her, it is from a place of righteous anger. Yeah, everyone thought I killed you. Your mom shunned me. Your mom made me a pariah. So
it was taken into questioning several times.
Exactly. So when Rose does show back up, to me, I'm like, yeah, he has every right to be mad at her, but at the same time, aliens are involved now, so Mickey puts those feelings aside. And yeah, he is more okay with Rose, because at this point, yeah, they were just not good for each other.
Yeah. And after everything that Rose's mother did to him, he does come back to her apartment and saves her from an alien.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, even for Rose's mom, she does also have some feeling. She is right to be mad, like her daughter is gone, but then yeah, she went overboard on it, and I do believe that I can't remember if she did apologize to Mickey, and they do mend that fence to where yeah, they are kind of like as thick as thieves, especially when you see them again in near Journey's End. Like, they both come back to save Sarah Jane together, especially
Yeah,
them spending that time on that counter Earth where Jackie, gets to maybe get a chance to have her happy ending. Live with gets to live with Pete. Todd gets to live with Pete. Of course, Pete being rich in that universe.
yeah, that helps.
Yes, but I mean, sure, she has her daughter Rose there, but I'm pretty sure Jackie gets to live a sort of a semblance of a better life than what she had on this Earth. So of course, it wouldn't surprise me that she makes amends with Mickey, and I do love Mickey. He is so smart. Like I still love how he exits after Journey's End, where everyone's going home before he takes Rose back to that Earth. He's like, I'm not stupid. I know what's coming. So he's like, and I do love, especially in that counter Earth, he does get to fix himself from the loss of his grandmother, like that scene where he encounters it. Yes, I still love that scene.
I was
Like
gonna bring it up, but you did it for me.
it's a heartful moment, but then it still has that great levity to where she's being a grandma and like really hitting him, and he's trying to hide his emotions. I mean, it's a good thing that the character is kind of written as blind, because then it's kind of like I'm pretty sure Russell D was to add more lines like, "Why are you getting emotional around me?" While she's hitting him. Like it's like one of those great moments of Mickey to where it's like it's kind of something you can see. This is somebody who lost someone close to him, misses them terribly, and he's willing to take the abuse because this is the person standing in front of him.
It's he got a second chance, and another thing I love about the brilliance of Journey's End, like you really have to keep your eyes and ears open, because every second counts. And even in that scene where he leaves the doctor, he says, I've got nothing left in that universe. My grandmother's dead. And then he says she spent the last few years of her life living in her mansion.
Hmm.
That's really the one thing I focused on, is like, oh, in that universe, not maybe Pete Tyler pulled some strings, and he Mickey finally got to give his grandmother the life he always wanted her to have.
I
And
think
go
I
ahead.
think more than that, he also got time. He got to spend some time with her during her last days.
Second chance. Also, there's something, there's a major plot hole that kind of bothers me a little bit, because episode one, when Rose, that is,
Yeah,
the episode Rose, well, after Rose thinks that Mickey's dead because the plastic Autumn duplicate, and they pulled the head and all that, she
yeah.
says, I'm gonna have to tell his mother that he's dead. And then a couple episodes later, you learn that, oh no, he doesn't have a mother. His mother died when he was young, and his father left, so he's raised by his grandmother. That's one of the things that always sticks out to me, is like a plot hole. But to fix up on that, you do kind of see his grandmother in the Father's Day, when he's a little kid. You see him with his grandmother, and you only learn
Yes.
about him being raised by his grandmother in the next season. So minus that bit of flubbing on the writing, Russell T kind of planned out this character's arc several years in advance, minus that one flub.
I mean, I don't know if it was a plan. I think maybe Russell T, when he wrote this character, just to be a simple like douche or so.
You,
Maybe like
you can
depending on
kind of
how.
tell you can kind of tell that he wrote the character a certain way in the first episode,
Yeah,
but from Aliens of London onward, he's like, no, there's potential there. I can make some really great stuff with this guy.
yeah.
So
Maybe it was a mixture of him realizing there's more to this character, or maybe it was when Noel Clark was casted as this character, he saw that there was more he can do with him. But I will admit that, yeah, just from the impression of this character, I mean, if he had just been written off immediately after that first episode, that would have been a loose plot thread that would have lingered throughout that season. So it's kind of a good thing that he didn't just immediately write that character off.
and here's another thing that proves my theory of him wanting to do more with that character after he wrote the episode Rose. Because if you read the novelization of the episode Rose, which came out in 2020, he gives him a lot more character development in that book. Russell T, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he fleshes out that character. We learn more about his relationship with Rose, and suddenly that scene in the diner makes a little bit more sense if you read the novelization. Not going to spoil too much, but the conversation that she has with Plastic Mickey in that diner, it hits different after you read the novelization, and there's like a scene that was added, of course, in the novelization where Mickey's in a band, like he's got
Oh,
a band who hang out at his place from time to time. And I'll tell you something else, and this is going to be the final point. Even the Plastic Mickey duplicate has a lot of character development in the novelization, with much more fleshed out than the TV version. That's my
huh.
final tease, and I really cannot recommend that book enough.
Huh. Well, interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that was gonna catch your eye, your ear. Sorry. Now moving on to my favorite of the modern companions. Obviously, I mentioned that Sarah Jane Smith, favorite of all time, favorite of the modern companions, Martha Jones. I it's a character that when I saw it as a teenager, when I saw the show, of course I was like, uh, my favorite was Rose because she's blonde, she's hot, and whatever. And essentially, Martha was the rebound girl. But growing up and understanding the world a little bit better and rewatching the series over and over again, I kind of realized that oh no no no, Rose was kind of a spoiled brat most of the time, and it was Martha. Even though they were relatively the same age, Martha was the more mature, more intelligent, and much more. Uh, what's another positive word I can use in this context?
Like almost grounded. Oh no, not grounded, but more. Yeah, in a way, yeah. She was more like in more of the stronger sense, she was grounded because even though with Rose, yeah, she comes off a little sound spoiled, but at the same time, Rose, she was very aimless because she was young, single mother, and of course, yeah, she at the time of the show, she was the character was 19, but with Martha, she has like a family, like it's a bit of a dysfunctional family, with the father and the mom divorced. She has a sister, and of course the father was dating someone at the time, so Rose in a way, and a brother too. Yeah, Rose had, I mean, Martha in a way had to mature in a way that Rose was kind of, I won't say couldn't, but in a way where Rose was just kind of like, she was free to, she had no, like, nothing to hold her down, no restrictions in a way. Uh, like, sure, Rose had, she didn't know who her father was, so Rose may have had some, like some emotional baggage. But Martha, in a way, she is a little more mature. She's more grown up because she has a family. She has a maybe some would say a very overbearing or a bit of a strict mother. But still, you can see with her interaction with her family, she does love them. She does care for them, but at the same time, she's not willing to stick around to be like, I'm not going to engage in this. Like she has her own life. And that's what you get from that first episode of Smith and Jones. Like Martha has her own life, and she knows what she wants, and she's going to work for it. Especially the fact that she is a doctor. Uh, I don't
Medical
know,
student.
huh?
Medical student.
Oh, medical. Yeah, she becomes a doctor later on. But yes, she is a medical student. She is working hard towards something. So she is very driven. That's one thing that you do see the two differences between her and Rose. She's driven in what she wants in her career. She is kind of like a working girl, kind of like Rose, but the more Rose was still she's a little aimless because she was a shop girl.
Yeah, and I think I found the word I was looking for: independent.
Ah,
She's got her own place. She doesn't just work in a clothes shop. She's a medical student. She's studying for something big, something major. I mean, medical school is no joke. And I think you brought up the dysfunctional family aspect. I think it's because of the dysfunctional family that she is that much more mature. Because look at what she had to deal with. Now, of course, with Rose, there's some tragedy there that she lost her father, but at the same time, I mean, she didn't have a. I'm gonna say it. She didn't have a good role model growing up.
yeah.
Like, I mean, she didn't have a proper father, and her mother, no, not gonna win Mother of the Year anytime soon. But this is another reason why I brought up the Rose novelization. It's because you learn of some of the stuff that Rose did uh, pre before we met her. Like, I mean, she dropped out of school because of some guy, and she did a lot of problems, and that's kind of what led her to where she was. But Martha, no, she was the more focused, and because she's living in that family unit where the mother and the father don't get along. Force the father uh, now dating a woman who could be the same age as his own daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and she was kind of and even if one of the things I love about the first episode, Smith and Jones, is you get to learn everything you need to know about this character from the get go before even the doctor shows up, because
Exactly.
you see she's the first person you see, then you see her sister, then you see her mother, father, brother. You learn exactly the entire uh, conflict with her family, and then the doctor shows up and takes off his tie. So the this whole thing just emphasizes how she was the glue that held the entire family together.
Yeah, because you can also see with even their family, even though her sister is also very working, her sister is kind of like the younger sister. You know, she wants to live her own life, make her own choices, but she's kind of a little wild, which is why when I'm jumping ahead towards the end of that episode, when she does show up for family for dinner, you can see the argument between the girlfriend is with the mom and the sister, not Martha. So
Yeah.
you do see that. While yeah, the dad dating someone who is could be similar in age to Martha and her sister, it doesn't bother. I mean, it doesn't really bother Martha as much as it would her sister.
Martha isn't that bothered with it. It's definitely Tish
Yes.
who like, why did she give you a soap for your 21st birthday? And the thing about the brother Leo is he's pretty much well made. I mean, he's already married and he's got a daughter.
hmm
And Tish is the one that's kind of living in both Martha and Leo's shadows in a way. And like I said, like we said, Martha is the one keeping the family together. And another thing that I love, did you see the extended version of Last of the Time Lords?
I think it's difficult to tell because I came into the show, I think, near Martha's end tenure. So when I think I see rewatches, I don't know if I watched the full episode or the originally aired episode or an extended episode. So it's really difficult for me to
The
tell.
extended one's about an hour long.
I think I may have seen that. But despite time length, I think I would need to see like certain like details that's different between the original episode and the extended, honestly.
That's where I'm going with this, is because in the extended version, there's a scene where you see Martha's family in cages after they tried their escape attempt. The master puts them all in cages, and they're just sitting around, and just there's a moment of them just reflecting everything the master put them through this whole year of hell, as it were, to use a Star Trek reference. And they're all saying, "I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill the master." And another one says, "No, no, you're not going to kill him. I'm going to kill him." And you see the mother and the father, Francine and Clive, if I remember correctly. You see them make up. You see they put all their differences aside. You see them acting as proper parents again, and that's why one of the things that led to the family getting back together by the end of the episode. And in also in the extended version, you see Francine holding the gun to the master, and she wants to kill him. She's driven, and the master's like, do it, go on, do it." And the doctor talks her out of it, and it kind of makes the editing look a little bit better, because in both versions, when the timey wimey stuff is happening and everything's going backwards, there's a
Mhm.
gun that falls on the floor next to Francine, and Francine looks at it. But in the aired version, she does nothing, and it's Lucy who shoots the master.
Yes.
But in the extended version, it's Francine who picks up the gun, and then she aims it at the master. The doctor convinces her not to shoot him, and then Lucy is the one that shoots the master. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I did see a clip of that moment. I did see a clip of that, so I did mainly see the originally aired episode.
Okay. Now, for a very long time I watched the aired version, the shorter version, and I
Yes.
did see that clip that you're referring to of her wanting to shoot the master. And I was like, wait, where's this in the original in the original one? And then after I saw that clip, every time I rewatched that episode, I was like, no, you can tell that besides that one clip, there's other stuff. Like it's very prevalent in the editing that there's stuff that was left on the cutting room floor. That there's more to this episode that you could add to it. Then I saw another clip of the master dancing to another song at the beginning of the episode. I was like, no, there's definitely an extended version. And every time I rewatch it, I aim to find the extended version because it really does add a lot.
Also, it like when you mentioned like the whole thing with the gun, though, it also falls down to like also an issue with editing too, because when if the gun falls near Francine, uh, Lucy's nowhere near Francine when that moment happens.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives the idea like, wait, did Lucy already have a gun on her at that moment? Because it feels like why would you leave that in shooting? But also, I do remember. I think I did come across that scene at the time with BBC America when they did air it. Yeah, that moment between the mother and the father, because that was a nice moment. Because seeing where they started off, and then of course the episode when they came back with last of the Time Lords. Well, not no, Sound of the Drums.
On drums, yeah.
It was really like the mom was so like her own character a bit, honestly. I mean, you see her in Smith and Jones, and then coming back to the Lazarus Effect, how she's kind of given a little bit of the doctor's history and immediately hates him, trying to protect, of course, being like a mom protecting her daughter. But unfortunately, she listens to the wrong influence to where in the Sound of the Drums, when that moment happens, when Martha calls them, you can clearly see the tension that moment between the mother and father, to where the dad literally like he's not on board with this at all, but the mom's like, oh, I gotta protect my girl. But then of course the dad's really like, nope, drops the charade, and then when they get arrested, you do see that moment like almost like not like a sense of worry, but it's like a really really hard moment to where what happens when the master who's in a position of power wanting to torture the doctor through the companions, what lengths he's willing to go. I mean, he goes
Yeah.
farther, but you do see a little bit before he drops the charade. He's with the whole charade of Harold Saxon. You do see at least what he's willing to do under a mask, and then once he drops that charade, then you're like, oh no, he's fully unleashed. Yeah, he makes them, treats them like he makes them as yeah literally makes them like his slaves. Like the mom's giving him drinks. The daughter is literally like, oh my god, I forget what Tish was.
Uh,
He,
Tish
he,
is feeding Jack, I
yes,
think.
yes, I remember. Yeah, but even then, like he throws the instead of like before he locks them in a cage after that first failed attempt, he really is just putting them in positions of humiliation. Honestly, like he's making them be his servants. Like throughout
Yeah.
that whole entire year. Sure, Lucy definitely got the bit of the worst brunt of it because like there were hints of like the master was abusing her, but
Yeah,
you do.
yeah.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
finish.
No, I was gonna say, but at least you see with the family that they're only getting like the humiliation moments. They're not getting the true emotional or physical brunt of it.
Because that's why I brought up the extended version about Lucy. Because in that scene that I mentioned of the master dancing, there's a scene where he kind of, as part of a dance, forces himself on Lucy, kisses her and kind of twirls her around. Then she walks away, and you can kind of see the expression on her face changes. Like, ugh, I have to put up with that. And if you look really close in that moment, you can kind of see that she's got the leftovers of a black eye.
Yes, I do. I do remember that moment.
Yeah, so that that's why I love that the extended version that much more because it makes the fact that that moment where she shoots him it adds a lot of more weight to it. Now the unfortunate part of it is that for some reason the brother just got shafted.
Maybe the actor wasn't available, or
Yeah, I assume that that's it. I mean, besides the party scene, the actually no, in Lazarus Experiment he does show up, but the majority of his scenes is done without the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So, but he does show up in Last of the Time Lords at the end when Martha says goodbye to the doctor. Now she does say goodbye. She comes back later in the next season. She meets Donna, and I love that that her and Donna just immediately click. They immediately get along, unlike a certain other companion.
Another difference you do see that they show between her and Rose, because that's the one thing I kind of hated when they introduced that. Like, why does a companion need to be jealous of another companion? It
Yeah,
was something that completely bothered me. I mean, sure. I mean, I'm watching the classic ones, seeing maybe some old companions meet other ones, or companions meeting potentially new companions. It was really never glossed on a lot. It was just more of, oh, I'm part. This is happening to me. I don't want to be here. Like the closest I saw with Rose, like where we saw companion being very like conflict, always having a conflict with the doctor, was Tegan, because Tegan was literally like, I have a life now. This is happening to me, and I don't want to be here. She grows to accept it, but then at the same time, I love what Tegan's character. Well, this little diatribe with Tegan's character a little bit is that she eventually leaves the doctor because she said, the mayhem and destruction, as we previously talked about in the companions episode. That's one thing.
agreed.
And then also the reason why I bring up Tinker, because it brings me back to Martha. Martha is one of the few companions, at least at the time, that chose to leave the doctor. And it's one of those things. And then, of course, later on, before we got to Jodie, every companion that was with the doctor either suffered a terrible fate, or pretty much they just suffered a tragedy or a fate, trying to make the doctor as this being his companion, being their companion, as this sort of tragedy, this monkey's paw. Like, you're going to see beautiful things out this in the universe, but it's going to be at the cost of your life, or
Hmm.
the cost of something dear to you, which I did not like. Honestly, it made the next companion coming on like a worried, like, oh, what's going to happen to this person. So when Martha decided to choose to leave, I was, at least now looking back at it in hindsight, that is the best exit a character in the modern era has ever gotten. And it's something that
Hmm.
not many people really look back on when it comes to thinking of Martha as a companion. I go, no, she chose, despite a line said by a certain immortal, you don't get to choose when your time ends with the doctor. No, Martha is the example. She is the counter argument to, yes, you can choose to end your time with the doctor, even
And
if
she
you're
gave
not
him,
ready for it.
and she gave him a phone to keep in touch. It's like when that phone starts ringing, you come running back, and he does.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back to the meeting other companions, when the Doctor and Rose eventually get reunited, and and Martha sees them on that giant screen in Davros's office.
I did see the
Okay,
extended
for
cut
you,
of
I'm
that.
your yeah. What?
I did see the extended cut of that episode. So
I don't think there is. I think the long version is the. Actually, I didn't know that. I don't think there is an extended version of that,
I
but
thought there was. Oh, maybe
but
maybe I thought so, because I don't know. I came across two different time. Maybe I watched one without commercials. Maybe that's why I thought it was longer.
no, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, when she sees the Doctor and Rose, she asks her who are you? She's like, I'm Rose Tyler, and like immediately, oh my God, he found you, and she's happy that he found Rose again. And that later when after they finished dragging the Earth back together, I just love that moment of both of them just hugging each other, Rose and Martha. That was a really fun moment.
Yeah, I mean,
Now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, it is a good moment there. It shows that Martha is very mature. She's very emotionally stable, to where she doesn't have to unload onto Rose to be like, oh my God, my time with the doctor was a living hell because he constantly kept bringing up you. No, she's like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he
he's the
talks
more
about you.
mature of the two.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much
Now,
more I can talk about Martha, but I don't want to. I don't want this being 2 hours.
yeah, but final note on Martha. So eventually, she left Lucifer Morningstar after they got engaged, and she married. Uh,
Oh man, yeah. If I never saw that show, I would never have like connected that character. I'm just like, what happened to the handsome doctor?
yeah, but yeah, she eventually married Mickey. Why?
Yeah,
I mean, they could
that's
be friends.
another decision by Russell where he thought, oh, just two companions doing together. Why? Because they chose because both companions in a way chose to leave the doctor. No, you could have been like, oh, they're partners, like business partners in a sense, to where
Yeah,
Mickey's privateering out there. Martha left unit to where she can help, but the marriage part, ugh. If they cut out that line to where I shouldn't. If they had just cut out that line, you should never should have married me. I think that still would have been a good moment to see, like, oh, two companions,
yeah,
going
that's
out there and it's
yeah,
making a difference.
yeah. And the thing is, because of how that line is worded, you could say that he officiated the marriage, and then that's a huge stretch.
Yeah.
But Russell T did put a firm hand on it in the 2020 webcast Farewell, Sarah Jane Smith, where basically it's just Jacob Dudman narrating everything that happened in Sarah Jane's funeral service with some returning companions here and there. And he does very firmly mention that Mickey and Martha are married and they have a daughter named August. So,
August. Okay.
uh, so yep, they're married now. And he also kind of drops that Tegan and Nissa are together, which is weird. But
That was the case. Where was Nissa during the power of the Doctor?
where? Yeah, because considering where she left the Doctor, and that's before you factor in Big Finish and novels and all that kind of stuff. She's in a different universe in Big Finish lore. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so but I guess it's kind of Russell T saying that he wants Nissa to come back. He does name drop her a lot in interviews, so that's where my mind is going. That's about it
I
for.
think there's one more thing I do want to add about Martha, and it's going to be a very quick one. One other thing I do appreciate about Martha, I did talk earlier on with Mickey, like when it came with companion, like they developed confidence to to really have a not a conflicting not where they constantly argue with the doctor like how Donna started off with, but more in a sense to where they are challenging the doctor. And I think outside of Smith and Jones, the next episode, New Earth, when Doctor brings back to this planet, you do see to where Martha, she's not willing to sit with,
Mm,
the idea of like, you're just bringing me to a new world that you brought someone else to. Like, she wanted more. And then you do see it move on with Shakespeare's Code and especially to 42, where I like Martha is the one to having to really save the doctor from the
yeah,
entity of that from the sun, the sentient sun. And of
Raj,
course, like one thing I do say with Martha, she really is put through the ringer in this season to where
a
she
lot.
has every reason to constantly stand up and talk and challenge the doctor. And
And
I think I like that because it stays to her character when it comes to the sound of the drums. When the doctor tells her to, oh my god, use the countdown, she uses it in a way to really get out. She weathers herself, really develops a sense of not only strength but inner power in her to
mhm.
to brave that entire year alone, meaning different people on the earth telling them about the doctor, to where, like, yeah, doctor's chained up, but that entire episode lies solely on the strength and character of Martha alone and what she was willing to do, not only to stop the master and to help the doctor, but how to inspire an entire world. So when that countdown did happen, even if the doctor did tune himself into the Archangel network, he never would, I don't think he would have gotten as I won't say as powerful though, but that moment would not have been as huge if Martha did not convince the entire world to think of the doctor, to wish, almost, I'll say, pray for the doctor when that happened.
Yeah. And when you brought up New Earth, I thought you were going to mention that moment of her sitting down and just crossing your hands, like, I'm not going anywhere with you until you talk to me properly and
Yeah.
stop lying to me about your home planet and whatnot. So yeah, that's another great moment of independence by Martha. That's not something I think Rose would have done. With Rose, now granted, it was a different doctor, but with Rose, he just told her about it. Uh,
Well,
what,
also, but it's also a different maturity and age for them as well. Because yeah, Rose is 19 at the time. Martha, I'm pretty assuming she's in her mid 20s, but also it's really different backgrounds of each of their characters. You know, because Martha, she has to deal with because she's a medical student. I'm pretty sure she's had to deal with egotistical men or men who are constantly trying to
Mhm.
use position of power over her.
I
Like
mean,
it really is.
look at the way the hospital manager talks down to her, and all
Mhm.
the other medical students as well.
Yeah, so it really is Martha to where she is that person, which not just independent, but someone who knows when to take a stand, not just yell at them. Like once again, it's just a difference of character between the two of them. Where Rose, at the end of the world, she's just like constantly yelling at him, asking, demanding questions. Martha is kind of like, no, I'm going to do this in a mature way. We are going to talk. I want to know. In a way, I think it's one of the reasons why I think the doctor likes her.
Hold on. So Martha, apparently, according to the wiki, was born on September 14th, 1984. So 2007. Uh,
84, she would be 23.
yeah. So she's a couple years older than Rose when we meet her.
Oh, well, but okay, but despite the age, but also like we do say, she is more independent. She is more stable. She's had better role models. So, especially the fact you see with her mother, the fact that especially in a way you can almost like the even with the moms, there is a difference between Rose's mom and Martha's mom to how they raise their daughters. Like I see with Jack. Well, I mean, of course,
Spoilers to another episode I've got planned.
yeah, both moms do strike the doctor, but you do see in different ways. But beyond that, it is like a sense of a strong foundation. That's what I think. It's how they are as a foundation of a character. But
Mhm.
beyond that, I just wanted to bring up how Martha is truly like her own character, her own person.
Yep. Oh boy, we talked so much about the first two.
Yeah.
Have
So
we got a couple more to go? What?
oh no, it's like yeah, I do agree. So we should definitely keep going. We should definitely move on.
Yeah. Now, sadly, there are no companions of color on the TV show for Matt Smith's Doctor for obvious reasons. I mean, look at the companions he did have and look how long they stuck around.
Yeah.
So, for companions of color with the 11th Doctor, wait for us to do an episode about the comics. But this means we do get to jump right into the 12th Doctor. Now, there's a character I wasn't really considering having on this list, but while we were talking, I thought I can't really do this episode justice without bringing up Rigsy.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a
Or
like proper companion, but he
this
is.
is a pseudo companion.
Yeah.
A pseudo companion. Local
Kind of
knowledge,
like
as
how
the
Danny
doctor
Pink
called it.
was. Kind of like how Danny Pink was also a bit of a pseudo companion.
You know
They were
what?
more important in Clara's story than the Doctor's story.
Yeah, Danny Pink and Rigsy were Clara's companions,
Yes.
not so much the Doctor's companions. And look, I completely forgot about Danny Pink because that's how much I hate that season. I blocked that out of my mind completely. I so let's talk a little bit about Rigsy and then we'll move on to Danny Pink. I'm uploading the picture.
we can just briefly talk about them. We don't gotta go the 20 to 30 minutes like we did with Mickey and Martha.
Yeah, because they're better companions to talk about. But so I actually like Rigsy. I wish we got to see more episodes with him. Like feel like I mean I brought up the fact that the doctor called him local knowledge. You need a guy like this. If you're because obviously Clara was a teacher in Coal Hill School, but because you got to keep coming back to that same time and place, you need a guy on the ground, like a Mickey of sorts, a guy that, or Rory's dad, who you keep coming back to every once in a while, and he's like your eyes and ears on the streets. Like he says, he updates you on everything that's happening, and I kind of like the direction they took with this character. Unfortunately, I mean, after the
Big
uh, uh,
flatline episode. Yeah.
yeah, from Flatline and what was the other one? Face
The
the
Raven?
Raven.
Yeah, Face the Raven.
Face the Raven. After Face the Raven, we kind of don't see him again, which sucks. Felt like they had something interesting going on with this character, but they
I think the reason why he wasn't brought back was because at that time of that series, the Doctor had erased Clara from his memory. So if they did encounter each other, he would have brought up Clara to where the Doctor. I think he probably would have given a face to Clara because that's what the Doctor said in that episode, Hellbent. He knows he has their memory. He just doesn't remember her physically. Like he doesn't have that image of her.
yeah, and
I'm pretty sure
the way
Rigsy would have been the one to fill in those spaces of Clara.
yeah, and the way Hellbent ended, it was like the Doctor was looking for Clara. The Doctor wanted to find Clara, which of course he did at the end of his regeneration cycle.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw the spin-off show Class, but when
No,
he
I
goes
did
back,
not.
yeah, when he goes back to the school, the Doctor sees Clara's name on a list of the dead from the school, and there's like a moment of like, is it the one I'm looking for? And you kind of get a hint of Clara's music theme, but it's a very brief moment. So if they actually did brought back Rigsy, it would have been like um breadcrumbs, like the Doctor trying to follow breadcrumbs based on stuff that Rigsy said. And
Mhm.
just for some reason, with Capaldi's final season, they went in a completely different direction with everything that they did in the previous two seasons. I love the last season, but
Yeah.
it's just, it feels a
I'm
bit
pretty sure.
detached.
Yeah, the
But
Husbands of River song was definitely the turn for what the next season, what the final season was going to be. And one thing with Rigsy, I do agree. Yeah, he's a great person for the local person, the common knowledge. I do like his retort he has with Clara when she assumes the role of the Doctor. He's not trying to. He's not like his that sewer that I think that construction guy constantly downplaying her or trying to undermine her. He's literally like, okay, you know what's going on. I will follow you. I'll do my best to fill you in on what's happening around here. Uh, and I
he
do
has to be
like how
useful.
yes, he's being useful to her, not trying to get in her way. He's literally like being an actual companion. Someone's like, "Oh, you know what's happening. There's this trouble going on. You're willing to help me. Great. Let me. I will help you." And Clara, even towards the end, really does something good for Rigsy. He helps give Rigsy a bit of confidence of his own to help pass his own insecurities. So when we see him again and face the Raven, you'd realize, yeah, he has a child.
He
Unfortunately,
made this human.
and also it sucks with Rigsy too. Like he's he's made a pawn in order to draw in the doctors. So when they do find that street, he's given like I did not like how those aliens treated him. I mean, I'm pretty sure
Mm.
it was a mixture of fear, but then I'm going like he has no memory of being there, and you're gonna treat him as if he had done something terrible, like he had be like he harassed one of your own.
I mean,
That episode, that moment
in their
really
mind, he did. And to them, he did.
I
False
know, but
belief.
that's the thing that pissed me off with that episode. Why erase his damn memory if he can't make amends about it? I mean, that's the one thing that's the one part of the writing that really pissed me off, especially as somebody when it comes to when speaking of him as a black man. The fact that I read so many articles of people, especially myself, of people of color being harassed simply for no fucking reason or
Yeah, for
not even
being
knowing
black.
the reason. That struck a chord with me because so you're harassing him for something he doesn't remember. You're gonna vilify him for something he doesn't remember, all because he's got the numbers because he's marked by the Raven. Sure, it's
Because he was found next to a body.
yes. Found next to a
And
body,
look
and
at
then he was given the
honestly,
mark of
like,
the Raven. They struck his memory. So instead of him calling, of course he calls Clara. Like I got these numbers. Like, but even then, the fact that he knows the doctor could have been like, I know someone who could help. No, it's just like, okay, you did something wrong. Here's your punishment. We're gonna forget your memory. So what? He's gonna die for no reason and abandon a child. that whole thing, that plot, that little thread alone, that plot device alone pissed me off to where it doesn't even make up for the episode alone. It was just more like, really, it's something. It really sets me off to where I barely rewatch that episode, at least the first half of it, until they get to that town. And then, of course, with me, I'm going, really, you are that. Yeah, yes, you're an immortal. You're in charge. You're a mayor of this town. You could have thought of better ways than to do something like that. You know, that's really like a downplay.
Blame a guy for murder.
Especially when the last time we saw her at the end of the woman who lived. Like, of course, okay, she's been around since the Victorian time, so maybe something's changed to modern. But god damn it, now I'm gonna stop before I get into a rant of how stupid that was.
There's a lot of things wrong with that plot line. Let's be honest. But speaking of things with a lot of bad, speaking of plot lines with a lot of bad stuff in them, Danny Pink. I'd much rather let you talk because if I talk, I mean,
yes, I'm well aware of your distaste for Clara, and I do share some sentiments with you. But one thing I will say, I don't hate the Series 8 as much as some other people do because, honestly, Danny kind of was that kind of guy who was the person with common sense. Yes, I do like
him off.
Yeah. Not only does he tell off the doctor, he's also sees past the doctor's bullshit. I mean, that episode when he's the caretaker, the fact he's introduced to them, Clara, who clearly is a terrible liar. Well, of course, when she tries to, I'll attempt it later. Of course, when Danny sees that, instead of immediately coming clean, she just panics and then I like it. She's trying to say it's a play, and you're like, how stupid do you think I am? So then when she does open things up, I do like the fact that Danny, he's no longer putting up with the doctor's bullshit of him calling him a PE teacher. No, I'm a math teacher. I teach students math. And the fact that and I do like he looks past the prejudice of the doctor because he was a soldier. Yes, I fought in a war. There's more to me than that. Which is something I'm kind of glad they got over with Capaldi's character. I mean, yes, he just regenerated, so his feelings of war and soldiers are a bit of like a prejudice in a way. I like the fact that Danny is the one to fucking get him over that goddamn hump. The fact that he is just simply calling out, "Oh, you hate soldiers, but you're acting like a soldier. You're fucking
like an officer."
Yes.
And
so no, you go ahead. Go ahead. I know it's all me, but I know you want to say something. Go for it.
Because speaking as a soldier myself, someone who has actually been in wars, I one of the things that really pisses me off about the treatment of Danny's character, not the character himself, but how the Doctor and Clara look down on him because he's a soldier. Like, you're just a dumb soldier. What do you know? Is basically the way that it feels like. It's like I love how I don't love. I hate that when Clara first learns that he's a soldier. It's like, so he's teaching these kids in PE. Well, he's not PE.
No, it was a math class. He was doing a lecture, but then one of the kids asked him a question about his time as a soldier, which led to that moment of him reflecting on that mistake he made.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when Clara throws it at him, I think Danny was right to retort, like, hey, "Who told you that?" Like,
and I was referring to something he did on the side. Like, in addition to being a math teacher, he was also training kids, not necessarily PE, but something similar. I can't remember what it was, but like a group of kids, teaching them like military discipline and stuff, which, it's one of the things you do in countries, in schools, in countries where military service is mandatory. But and that's Clara's first impression of the guy, and the first thing she sees him is she sees him training these kids up, and he does kind of treat the kids. He does act a little bit like a soldier at times, but he's got all the good qualities of a soldier. The idea, the values of don't leave a man behind, sticking together, comrades in arms in that ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, he's trying to teach some certain values, like he learned from the military.
Yeah. And in that episode with the ridiculous episode with the forest, like he would do anything just to protect these kids. That's what a leader would do. That's what a commander would do. And when he goes off on the doctor, talking to him like an officer, and again, speaking as a soldier myself, that's the kind of things that officers do sometimes. Not I've definitely served under people who definitely would be the first to let you walk into the fire and watch from the sidelines, which is what Danny claims the doctor is doing. Of course,
In a way, he's not wrong with the doctors. But I mean, with the doctor, his experience with it is war because of the time war and how much of an impression it left on him to where he has a negative view of soldiers. Instead, he should be looking at the negative view. I mean, he has a negative view of soldiers and the people who command them. But it's clearly in this season, in this series, he just throws his negative opinions at simple foot soldiers, which I can understand without context and not knowing what soldiers go through. Yes, you can hate them, but also at the same time, foot soldiers have done some terrible stuff, either they were ordered to or not. I mean, hell, all the wars in America have been some of the wars in America, like the Vietnam War, Korean War, the Iraq War, the Afghan War. I mean, shit, there has been stories from regular soldiers to where they've done terrible stuff. But with Danny's trying to show that I'm not that kind of soldier. I am someone who believed in serving and wanting to help others and wanting to be a leader, which is why I like the fact that after that little incident that happened to him, he could have been like one of those veterans to where he's traumatized what happened. No, he moves on, well, tries to move on and be a teacher
and
to
he
help
works with
educate.
children.
Yes.
He works with children.
That's how much that moment hit him so bad that I harmed a child. In a way, he seems like I need to make amends for it to where he is a teacher to where he wants to educate children. And yes, in the Forest of the Dead, where he's trying to the whole plant is covered by vegetation, trees, leaves, vines, and bushes. Of course, he's going to be a soldier to where he needs the kids to stick together. Don't give a damn how Clara and the doctor feels about it. But I'm sorry, what's your response? You're going to let these kids just wander off and be curious? I forgot the name of the girl. Even though she's tied like in a way psychically to the vines, to the wood, to the plants. At the same time, Danny, he's acting as any other adult would, or any other person with common sense would. Keep everyone together. Don't try to touch anything. Don't do anything that's going to get yourself hurt. Which is why there's some small moments in this series where Clara does confide in Danny to where I'm like, yeah, Danny is sort of that companion that Clara needs to vent. Like, especially after Kill the Moon, when Clara leaves the doctor because she did not like that moment she was put in, Danny's like, oh, you've had that kind of day, huh?
Yeah.
I don't like that he's lied to immediately after Clara says she's going to leave. Clara could have just said, I think I'm going to stick around. Danny would have understood that. But then, like, still, if you got one of those days, you know my number. You know, it's just, it's honestly, it's one of the reasons with Danny Pink is why I share your distaste with how Clara was in that series alone. Like, okay, yes, she's human, she lies and all that stuff, but at the same time, was it supposed to be at the expense of Danny sanity and
Poor
of
guy.
his life?
Yeah, and
Which is why I don't mind his turn. I like the fact that he's one of those characters when he's in that consciousness for that upload to where he's hesitant to erase his emotions because he's willing to feel it. Like he doesn't want Clara to find him in the afterlife. He wants Clara to move on. And then when he does come back as a Cyberman, he's not like it's not. I'm so glad they definitely got rid of that one trope of once a human learns they're in this body, their emotions overload a circuit and the Cybermans kill themselves. No, he realized what's going on. So guess what? He uses it.
yeah, and he
And
saved the day.
it's not just save the day, but also you meant before, like how he kind of sees the doctor as someone who will throw people to the fire. That standoff moment to where he says, I need you to turn this little switch on. The doctor's trying to corral him. He's trying to inspire him. And Danny immediately sees that bullshit. He's like, really? Here's this. Look, watch. And he tells Clara, watch this. I don't know what's going to happen unless you turn this on. And then you clearly see the doctor with all of that bravado dropped ahead to where, unfortunately, that curiosity is like, I have to know. Like, congratulations, doctor. You just proved Danny's point.
Yeah, I think Danny could have been a great character if
He wasn't killed.
A wasn't killed, B wasn't just written into the show just to be Clara's I don't even know I can find if I can
I
find the
think
word.
I'm pretty sure they were. I mean, yeah, they were dating. I'm pretty sure at some point they did make it official that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, yeah, if he wasn't just written as just another as just
Yeah,
a a love interest for Clara. Like if he
I
really was
love
written as
interest.
his
Yeah,
own person.
and not even 11. I mean, what you're saying that they confirmed that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. It took a while, and it took a lot of really dumb decisions on the writer's part of just making Clara unlikable at the expense of Danny, and then that's what really bothers me about those two characters' relationship.
Like it's really, especially of course in series 8, you know, she see how, I mean, the fact that Riggsy and Danny, I mean, yes, they are essential to Clara's character growth and her change as a person. But then bringing back to Face the Raven, when Riggsy does that moment in the TARDIS where they are just flying like crazy, Riggsy, he is the only one with common sense. We're like, shouldn't we be strapped down to something? Clara falls out and she's just enjoying
He's
herself.
laughing about it.
And then I love how Riggsy even confronts her. She's like, "You're enjoying this. Like, you're not
It's like a drug.
exactly." It's one of the things I do love about. It's one of the things in hindsight you do realize with these characters. They literally are those people to be like, "What the hell's wrong with you, Clara? Why are you doing
Yeah,
this?"
this could kill you, and you're enjoying it.
Which is why I think if she had not been, if Moffat didn't do his little stupid way of bringing her back, if he had actually put a finality to her dying in Face the Raven, I think both Danny and Riggsy would have been the impact in their stories really would have been much higher, but because it was undermined by the fact that Doctor just couldn't let it go, is a testament to like just Moffat's writing, but how badly he screwed up on the characters.
Yeah, Moffat has a weird obsession of you can't just kill a character, you gotta kill it in a very weird way and bring it back and kill it again and bring it back in an even weirder way. It's just, I mean, just look at the next character we're going to talk about. But I mean, uh, he killed Clara like 5 or 6 times. People always talk about how Rory is the one that keeps dying, or Amy is the one that keeps dying. Oh, look at Clara. Look how
Yeah.
many times he wrote
Oh yeah,
Clara out.
before we got to the modern Clara, there was
Yeah, but
Oswald, yeah, and then Clara in the past. Which honestly, I liked that Clara more than the modern Clara.
yeah, she had more character. But then uh, he had Clara decides to leave, comes back for the Christmas special,
Yes.
ages up into an old woman, then comes back again, and all the
Which
back and
that
forth
was,
of
I mean, even then, that was meant to be her writing off before Jenna Coleman had re-signed her contract with that Christmas special.
yeah. And he brought her back again in Capaldi's final season.
That was just funny. We were meant to be very short, but I guess looking back at Riggsy and Danny really opened up a fucking a
Yeah,
crow's nest.
we weren't planning for this, but we only got a couple more to go. So let's stick with Capaldi and go to Bill Potts. Now, officially, the first openly gay character on or a companion, I should say, on the TV show, and she only got one season. What do you think about the season? Because I actually, going back and forth, I like this character more and more the more I rewatch those episodes. But what say you?
I do agree with you. Rewatching episodes or looking in hindsight with from where she starts to where at least before where she ended, at least for where she started, yeah, her character is fantastic. Bill is outside of how it ended for her. Bill is another example of someone who can become better traveling with the Doctor.
Yeah,
Like, I do love that opening monologue is still fantastic. Her just explaining why she wants to be tutored under the Doctor, like her whole thing of feeling aimless, wandering around. Like I love that story. She talks about that one girl that she has a crush on. She kept serving chips to, and then she looks like, and she's like she said, she was like very fine. She was fit. Next thing I know, I see her again. She's overweight. She's like, oh my god, I made her fat. You know, like almost a bit of that aimlessness in even the way she's talking. You can see to where she's trying to get her, like she's trying to get to the point.
Yeah.
where like she wants to be out of her head so much. And also she wants to move up. She wants to not just move up in her station, but she wants to move up and do better things with her life.
Yeah, and she's the question asker, and that's why I love the fact that her and the doctor have this student and teacher relationship throughout that final season, and I love that it was her. She basically imagined her own mother. I mean, we've seen the trope of
Yes.
orphan in Doctor Who. We've seen it enough times already, but she imagined what her life would be like if she still had her real mother, and that's what ended up saving the world in
And
the
oh,
Monks trilogy.
more than that, but it was also because of that it inspired the doctor to do a bit of kindness to actually get her some actual photos of her mother. Like, take the fucking photos too. I mean, that's why I love that moment when she's like, she takes a magnifying glass or she just looks in and she's like, hey. That moment of him taking the photo of her, I do love that. To where the doctor he really it's a show of genuine care to where I'm going to do this one small act of kindness, and then yeah, that small act of kindness finally gave her an image of what her mom was like. To where we do get that moment to where it saves everyone from those monks, and even then, I think that's one thing I do take away with their relationship: just small acts of kindness through genuine care.
Yep, and that's also aside from the monks. That's how she kept her sanity as a Cyberman,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how she kept her mind. And eventually, she got her to have her happy ending, and she got to see the Doctor again. She got to see the first Doctor too,
Yes.
and there's some really funny moments with the first Doctor, and I love that moment of her asking the she's the one that asks the first Doctor, why did you run away from Gallifrey?
Yes. Like not. I mean, I'm pretty sure every companion in those shoes would have asked the first Doctor that question. I mean, of course, Ian
And
and
she's
Barbara.
the one who did it.
Yes. I mean, for Ian and Barbara, it makes sense why they wouldn't ask the question because honestly, it's not important to them. But
They just want to
you
get
know,
back home.
yeah, they just want to get home. But then, of course, with later on, every incarnation, especially after the Time War, to where people ask why were. I mean, the question is, why did you run away? And then we do get it through Bill. Yes, it is a consciousness of Bill who lives in the. I forgot what it's called, but
Testimony.
huh? The testimony. Yes, the conscience of Bill that lives in the testimony. But even then, it's still a question that someone like her would want to ask. Why did you do it?
Yes, the genuine Bill. And I love that how she phrases it. I'm not saying I'm not asking why did you run away from, what were you running towards, what were you running to, and that's what started the doctor's spiel about why he did it, and I
Yeah.
love that, and I love that speech.
Yes. And it's those little small moments of Bill's character was fantastic. Even going back to her first episode in the pilot, she forms that connection with I think her name is Heather, to her even when her body, even when she's taken over and turned into this like I won't say parasitic, but she's just turned into this form, is that connection that just keeps going with her. And yeah, it ultimately does save Bill, like from being the Cyberman, but it's just that small moments where even when you do moving on throughout her showing up when they're in that episode when they're on that planet with the robots, the smiling faces,
Emoji bots.
the emoji bots, like you do see that she genuinely cares where she has that connection with the little boy before all hell broke loose. Bill was there to be comforting to the child. Not the doctor was too, but the doctor was more curious than caring, but Bill was caring more than curious. That's how
Mhm.
they balance each other out. While the doctor is so curious about everything else, Bill was the person to constantly bring up that caring side of him. So even when Missy did come back into the equation, Bill still cared enough about the doctor enough to be like, okay, doctor, I'll go along with this. Which is why in that moment with Love and Time, or Time and
World enough in time.
World Enough and Time, Bill was willing to actually test drive, put herself out there to be like, let's see if Missy has changed. To unfortunately, prejudice got her killed, or fear and prejudice. I mean, that alien's fear, the fact that she was human.
Mhm.
All the alien could have just done was just like let her
Stun
go back,
her.
stun her, yes, or let her go back in the box. But of course, it's like fear, just like in the whole fucking thing with Rigsy.
Mm,
Fear. I'm not gonna say xenophobia, honestly, because that's one thing I did not like with seeing that connective thread between what happened with Bill and what happened with Rigsy was what the worst thing happened. The worst thing that happened to both of them was due out of fear. I mean, if there was just more beyond that, I'd be willing to swallow that bitter pill, but it's something I just can't because just seeing how genuine Bill has been and caring how she has gone, especially when the monks took even after when they were on that space station, the episode when they're on the space station and they're killing the astronauts because of the oxygen. Even then, despite the fact that the doctor blinds himself and people are losing their shit, Bill is still caring enough to be like, no, we. God, it's just fucking pit. I don't want to rant. I don't want to rant, but it's just something to where I'm going. You spent 12, 10, 11 episodes of wanting us to fall for Bill, seeing how no matter what she goes through, deep down she's going to remain that caring person.
mm-hmm.
And then you give her this fucking shafted end. I'm like, God damn it. Ugh.
Yeah. And you brought up Heather like 15 minutes ago.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw my reaction to that. It's like, yeah, so her and Heather eventually got together by the end. Bill and Heather. Bill and Heather Hartnell. That was an Easter egg. That was because Bill Hartnell, short for William Hartnell,
Yeah.
and Heather was the name of his wife. So that was it's
Huh.
an Easter egg.
Interesting. Huh.
Anyways, that's just me being a Doctor Who fan. Let's move on because we got to wrap this up because you can't stay here for too long. So let's just move on to the 13th Doctor's era, starting, of course, with uh, no relation, Ryan. Not this Ryan, Ryan
Ryan Sinclair.
Sinclair.
Ryan Sinclair.
Now, first, before we start, before you let loose, I I I love that they brought a character with a certain disability that doesn't get as much brought up in media. What I don't like is that they kind of dropped that whole plot line altogether. Like
No, I agree. I
it,
definitely agree. They establish it in the first episode when you introduce him, especially unfortunately, especially in the same moment to where when his grandma dies, you do see Ryan struggling, just trying to climb a ladder to save that construction worker, and yeah, you really don't see like it barely touched on, especially the fact that he's going to be thrown in a situation to where he is going to be doing a lot of running, a lot of climbing with the doctor.
yeah, he's gonna need his uh, arms and legs to do a lot of stuff, and that could have been his character arc because when he and Graham leave, is right back to square one. They're on the bicycle on that same hill,
Yes,
trying to complete that
just
track.
just that strat. That's just do it. Just trying to do everything in a straight line.
Yeah. So like I feel like if they touched on that plot point with that character more often throughout his tenure, not saying every episode, but every once in a while, it
Hmm.
would have that moment would have paid off a lot better. I think because it was a really I loved that exit for both of them, but uh, I did not appreciate that they didn't put enough attention to his dyspraxia.
Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's unfortunately that shows a one one issue, well, problem and issue that was with Chibnall's writing, especially when he decided to introduce having the Doctor having three companions. I not it's not like all of them needed their own. I mean, yeah, some of them needed their own individual time, but at the same time, you do needed to at least try to do a focus with all of them. I mean, with Yaz, honestly, in those couple episodes, I didn't understand why she was still around. The fact that she was an
Mhm.
officer, like no idea why she was still around. Ryan and Graham had the most reason to travel with the Doctor. I mean, Graham, you even see his drive throughout the season. He's in grief. He does not
Mhm.
want to be at that house, especially when they do go back home. You do see with Graham, he just can't stick around. He has to he can't deal with his grief. That's a strong motivation. Yaz, honestly, well, I don't. It's really never said what her motivation was. Ryan,
until the final season.
yeah, until the final season, we get her motivation. But Ryan, though, at least you do get a sense that maybe without his nan, without his grandma around, he's a little aimless. You know, like sure he's got his friends and and friends around, but even then, like he has even then before his relationship with Graham was finally set on a good foundation. Even then, he was
Yeah,
kind of
first
like
one.
yeah, he has no one close in his life outside. Sure. The reason he ends up leaving is because he wants to be more in the lives of his friends. But even
Yeah,
then, for Ryan, he was just still kind of like finally comes back home. He realizes his grandma's gone. He doesn't have a stable job. There's really nothing tying him down, which is why I like in the later season, especially in the New Year's, he gets to have that confrontation with his father to really
I was gonna bring
finally
that up.
yes. Oh yeah, let's go for it. Let's talk about his dad.
'Cause I thought you were gonna.
I do have more, but it was gonna be some more rambling. So I wanna
Okay.
like move on to the dad because whatever you're gonna bring up might add more to what I'm gonna say.
'Cause, I like that they brought up the idea with his dad because this whole time Graham was desperately trying to to make Ryan see him as his proper grandfather, and that was kind of the whole crux of their relationship. And I love
Yeah.
that they got there by the end, but when the father shows up for the first time, it's Graham who goes to meet him by the door. He opens the door, he's like, "Nope," because the father was a douche. The father left him. Uh,
Didn't even
uh,
show up for the funeral for the
didn't
grandma.
show up for
And
the funeral, his mother's funeral,
mm,
and yeah, it's kind of similar to what we got with Mickey, where his dad just got up and left. And this seems to be happening a lot for some reason with Doctor Who. Even with Clyde Langer, his father also got up and left with his ex-wife's sister.
mm,
So I think we're going to talk more about Clyde Langer's dad in another episode, but the with Ryan's dad, there's definitely some issues there, and he comes back. At least he's trying to make up for lost time and trying to reconnect with his son
yeah.
and trying to sell him a toaster. But I love that by the end of the episode, Ryan just takes all the animosity and anger he has towards his father and throws it out the window to save his father because the Dalek took over his
Yeah.
father's uh, body and forced the Doctor's hand. The Doctor tries to get rid of him by throwing him into a supernova, and Ryan risks his life. And again, this is another you could have. This is another part where you could have brought in the plot line of Ryan trying to handle his dyspraxia when he's trying to save his dad. That would have been a perfect moment to bring it up with him. No, I'm not going to let this condition stop me from saving my father.
Yes.
Now, I love that he ended up saving his father regardless, but it could have been they could have killed two stones with one bird in that moment, and they didn't.
Well, it's not only just that. I thought they could have brought his dyspraxia even if Dad returned. Like,
Yeah, they
uh,
didn't mention it.
no, the fact that in the first episode he is learning to ride a bike towards with his grandma there, and then like that could have been something brought up too. Like, well, did you leave me because of my disability? Did you leave me for
Mm.
the fact that you couldn't teach me how to ride a bike or balance myself on a skateboard or maybe just simply climb a ladder, do certain things that I could have needed a father for? Like there were so many missed opportunities with Ryan. Honestly, the one just even though Ryan's the one character that didn't that couldn't. I mean, sure. The one thing that Yaz, Graham, and Ryan kept asking about the Doctor is why are you so secretive? Why are you so closed behind doors? Sure, Ryan was the more persistent one, but even then, it wasn't enough. You needed more. Like there was two series. I mean, the fact that Russell was able to give me so much about Martha and Rose in one episode, but the fact that
Mm.
Chibnall, even Moffat, just by his feelings, was able to at least establish some good characters even in the background with Rigby and
Rigsy.
Danny. Rigsy, yeah, Rigsy and Danny. But Chibnall, his failing is he's got a prominent character he sets up with a disability, and what he can't at least try to have it pop up in an episode every now and then. I mean, there was like episodes where I thought that Dyspraxia really could have shown up, like
Mhm.
Kerblam or Kablam was one
Kablam.
episode. Kablam was one episode, or the episode where the
That one,
demon.
I think in that one it did pop up
Oh, it did.
slightly.
See, it's they don't do it so much that I didn't even know, I barely would have noticed.
When they had to jump from one shaft to the other, or conveyor belt to the other,
Okay,
and yet he still did it. He still succeeded
yeah,
despite the disability. So
just like no pause of tension. And I
yeah,
thought at least one thing with the dad coming back, we would have thought this is something for Ryan. But even then, I think when you brought up the fact that he's willing to throw his animosity away, that's also a turn for his character as well. Because in the series 12, he learns his friend has like with the gods, or
yeah,
he learns that he's lost
the guy
time
with
with
the
his friend.
fingers,
Huh?
the guy with the fingers.
Yes, guy with the fingers. But even then, before with his friend learning that his friend has been plagued by dreams and visions, he learns that he lost 6, 7 months with no
Mm,
weeks maybe with his friend.
something or other.
Yeah, he lost time with his friend, so he had no idea what happened in his friend's life. And surprisingly, he even then he kind of learned how important he was in his own friend's life to be like, yeah, this is not going to work out. Like with the doctor, like it's the seeds
Yeah,
were planted to where he is going to leave. So when they
scenes
do
of his
the
departure.
Yeah, so when they do the New Year the other New Year special with him finally leaving, I mean, of course, the Doctor, of course, at the time after the end of the in the series 12, Doctor didn't know that she was sending them 12, like 13 weeks. Oh my god,
10 months.
10 months. Sorry, yeah. Chibnall, honestly, it really doesn't stick with me. His episodes really don't stick with me as Moffat and Russell does. But yeah, 10 months that they realize that they have missed out of their lives. I mean,
Yeah,
I would have liked to see some show with it. Honestly, sure, we do see Yaz. She does a little conspiracy board with that TARDIS, but with Ryan though, I would have liked to have seen maybe him maybe find his friend again. Maybe his friend had turned his
yeah,
life around. Maybe his friend had actually gotten engaged, and him
yeah.
being at that engagement party and him talking to his friend going like, "Hey man, I'm sorry I was gone again." And I think his friend was aware that he was traveling, right? Like he was
Yeah,
doing time traveling.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would have enjoyed that moment where Ryan realized he missed. Not only he shows up at this engagement party 10 months, like 10 months in the future. He missed his friend getting to meet this woman. He missed getting to know this woman, getting to see how his friend changed for the better. Introduce something to where, yeah, they 10 months were gone.
Well,
Great.
they were 10 months separated from the doctor. Not
Yes.
they didn't miss for 10 months. They spent 10 months on Earth, and while the doctor was in space jail.
No, didn't the doctor say I accidentally sent you 10 months ahead? Didn't the doctor say I did it again? How long? And then the reaction? Oh, I just need to rewatch that. Fuck.
Yeah, they she sent them away in the timeless children, and she wanted to come back to exactly the same moment she sent them.
Well, yeah, but she was
She was
she was
in jail,
arrested.
and then they spent 10 months on Earth, went back to their lives, and then she comes back with Jack 10 months later on New Year's.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I swear I thought that they were sent 10 months into the future by accident. You know what? Pick that up at another time. But even then, with Ryan, the reason he leaves, I love the fact he leaves. Like he wants to live his life.
Yeah,
And once again, and just like with Martha, he fucking contradicts what Jack said to Yaz. You don't get to choose how your time ends. Ryan's like, no, I am choosing how my time ends. And
yeah,
even before that, I do like how the doctor confides in Ryan of what she learned. Not She doesn't tell him the complete truth, but she does tell her at least a version that really affects her. Like I just learned, like I I have a whole past that was taken away from me. I do like that she confides in him, and in a way, it kind of sets up her drive for, of course, when we get with Flux. But even then, I do appreciate that she was willing to open herself up again.
yeah.
And you do
And
see that, yeah,
it's Ryan that brings her back to center.
Yeah,
in that
not only
role.
that, but I think it was also meant to really open up the Doctor because throughout 11 and 12, series 11 and 12, she was closed off to them to where yeah, she took them on adventures. She was able to share in their pain with either loss or moments. But even then, she shared nothing outside of the Master returning, nothing of the Doctor's past. She was never willing to share with them. So I do like that was kind of her walls coming down a little bit before Ryan admits, like, I'm not sticking around. I need to live my life. I need to see what's out there in my world.
Yeah,
And then, of course, Graham follows suit, and I do like that. Um, I just felt, I don't, man. Now that you're saying that, I'm starting to think maybe they should have really solidified that Doctor accidentally sent them 10 months in the future instead of them waiting 10 months.
yeah, maybe. Now, I was also going to talk about Yaz because
Yeah,
she's also technically a person of color and the first Muslim companion, and kind of, if you really want to stretch it, the first Asian companion. Of course, if you take out Chang Li from the movie, who didn't actually travel,
I mean, no, he was just more of the
kind of a risky
companion of Doctor.
character.
Yeah, he was just more of he was more of a companion to where he was the last person. He was trying to help McCoy's doctor. Ends up robbing him. Well, taking his stuff, and then of course with McGann's doctor. It's honestly, yeah,
He
he
was
was
more of
more
a
of a
companion of the
master's
Master
companion.
than the
Yeah,
Doctor.
but
But
he was just more of saved by the doctor out of not not a convenience, just more out of the TARDIS just appeared to where he was going to get killed,
yeah,
and the doctor ends up being the one to take it. Um, but no, but I will say, yeah, yes, despite how it was, I do think she was a good companion. She was kind of like a solid rock, honestly.
yeah,
I
someone the
wish
Doctor could really lean on.
yes, I wish there were. I like with Ryan. I wish there was more done with her character, other than the fact that she's a police officer. I mean, we do learn from some motivation she maybe became a police officer because of her mother, but
Um,
or will oh my god, it's
no, it
really
was
I really need to rewatch. I just did I did like a Netflix binge of of Jodie's era and did not go back on it. Ugh.
I think it's she had problems with her family. She wanted to run away, and there was this policewoman who found her trying to run away, and she convinced her to join the force and like tell me, come back to me in like a year, tell me if I was wrong or something
Yes,
like that.
yeah, that little promise. Like here's what I'll do. Like if you think your life's bad, do this. If I'm wrong, come back and find me. Yeah.
And there was some money involved, but like you said, Chibnall's episodes just do not stick with you.
I mean, I wish they did. I would have had so much more to talk about Ryan and Yaz, but even then, the small bits we get with Yaz though, like I do like the fact that at least he established that Ryan and Yaz knew each other. Like they have a established
Hmm.
relationship. I do like the fact that even though they knew each other, Yaz also knew the grandma, so it wasn't as if it was a kind of like oh yeah, we knew each other in school, but it's it was more than that. So we didn't have to do like a whole get to know you thing with Ryan and Yaz.
Yeah,
I mean,
they established a familiarity between the characters.
which did help them to why they were kind of when it came with companions like doing the more action bits or the running. Ryan and Yaz kind of made sense because of the familiarity between each other, but also the fact they live in the same place. They live in the same area, maybe not in the same city. Oh my god, I'm not going to get on provinces and towns, but at least they live in the same region to where they are
Same
they
planet.
yes, exactly, they can talk with each other. And even her Yaz as a police officer, it does at least make her to where she can, along with the doctor, be someone who can make quick decisions in the moment, but also have a bit of a sense of
A sense
authority.
of authority. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, here's a conversation I had with our good dear departed friend Ben. We talked about it. It's like, and this just an example of how uh, Chibnall just does not hit with you. Is he said that with the pawns you can feel that they're a family.
Hmm.
He's and this is his words. He said, "You don't get a sense of family from these three characters despite the fact that Ryan and Yaz know each other, and Graham is Ryan's grandfather, and Yaz knows uh, Ryan's grandmother, and
And
you
the
do
fact
get
that the doctor
them
calls them the fam,
the
I'm
fam,
like,
and it just doesn't feel like a family as much as, say, Rose and Jackie, Martha with her family, or even Amy, Rory, and Riversong, and the doctor. So it doesn't have that familial
or even
feeling.
with Donna Noble and her family.
Yeah. Now, something that does actually stick with you from the Jodie Whittaker era is, of course, our first ever black doctor,
Hmm.
the fugitive doctor, played by expertly by Joe Martin. Why did we not get more of this?
Ugh.
We needed more. We
I had
need
a feeling. I had a feeling that there really was meant to be more with her because clearly he brought her back during the flux. Like, sure,
and Power of the Doctor.
yeah, but even then, like, I think there was something more planned out with her. But because when the flux was being shot, COVID happened, so Chibnall had said there were some episodes that he had to cut down in order to get at least this series up and running.
It was going to be a lot longer before COVID happened.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that there really was meant to be something going on with the fugitive doctor, especially the fact that the power the dog species, the fact that
Lupari.
Lipari, yeah, the fact that the Lipari that was chasing Jody, the fact that he was a companion of Joe Martin's doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that Jody did not remember him, it definitely looked to me that there was a seed planted there. There was definitely meant to be more story throughout that.
And with the Ravagers, with Swarm, he was set up to be like that Doctor's ultimate villain, like
Yes,
a precursor to the Master. And you just don't feel it when watching. I recently rewatched The Flux. It's like you feel that this guy hates the Doctor. It's like they're arch enemies, but Jodie's just not aware of it because she didn't live through it because she doesn't have those memories. So it's like
exactly.
it's a
It's
one
literally
half
like
of the puzzle.
it's pretty much kind of like it honestly to tie back to Rigby. It's like you create like it's almost as if Jody's doctor clearly through Joe did something terribly wrong. I mean, the fact that Joe's doctor is the one that imprisoned them. It's literally like
That's
someone
part of the
caught you
vision.
in no. Actually, the best analogy I can say is you meet somebody that maybe sees you as their greatest enemy, like you wronged them in some sort of way, but you just have no recollection of it or you have no idea of it.
I've got the best analogy.
Go
It's
for
Endgame Thanos and Wanda. It's like you took everything from me. I don't even know who you are.
it. Exactly. Exactly.
I
Except
love that I came
Jody's,
up with that.
Jody's doctor is more of the Thanos in this situation. I don't know you. Have we met?
Yeah, and we danced across the
Oh,
stars or
I just
whatever.
another one, like another analogy, and more of a meme though. But if have you ever seen the Street Fighter movie?
No.
No, okay, for those watching it, those I'm bringing it up. The Street Fighter movie, those that one epic line between Chun Li and Bison, to where Chun Li says Bison killed her father and destroyed her village, and then Bison has no recollection of it. And you might have heard this meme. To you, the day that Bison came was the most important day of your life, but for me, it was Tuesday. You may have heard some semblance of that, but yeah, the sense that to the Ravagers, their plans being foiled and then being caught and imprisoned by a doctor was the most important day of their lives. But to the doctor, no recollection of it. It could have been just a simple Monday for her, a simple Tuesday. But at least for Jody's, because she doesn't have that memory.
And uh, you can feel that there was so much that was left on the table with both the Ravagers and the fugitive doctor
Missed potential, honestly.
and Miss Potential and Tech Tayun. And
Yes, the fact that she was closed off so quickly, the fact that the Ravagers killed her off and then tortured the Doctor by trying to destroy her previous lives in that fob watch, like that it alone in a villain sense is like that is a sense of hatred to where we should understand why.
This is the most important thing to you, and I'm going to take it away from you. I was looking it up. There literally is a GIF of Jodie Whittaker saying, or as I call it, Tuesday, and I couldn't find it. It's annoying. But we got to move on. We've got two more to talk about, and the first one we got to talk about for the 14th Doctor, Rose Noble.
Yep.
Rose Noble Temple, to be specific.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Or is it Temple Noble?
I think,
and I they made a big deal about that in the end of time, to where it was Temple Noble. That's how they were going to hyphenate that name.
Yeah, and I rewatched the Star Beast again. It's they established that she called herself Rose Noble. She's not. But yeah, we talked about Bill being the first openly gay companion. This is the first openly trans companion. Now, I've got some issues with that because they put out a big statement. They make a whole big thing out of her being the first trans, and they put her name on everything. They put pictures of set leaks and everything.
Yeah.
And she's in one episode and a cameo in another one. It's like, if you're going to make that big of a deal out of a new companion, give her more stuff. Like, I'm not saying she should have been in the Wild Blue Yonder episode. That episode hinged on just Tennant and Tate dynamic. She could have been in the Giggle.
I will admit though, the little thread line with her in the Star Beast, the fact that she doesn't feel like herself, the fact that she doesn't feel like she's her. I think that thread line could have worked in the Wild Blue Yonder. The fact that at the time we meet Rose Noble, she's kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say she's aimless. She's struggling in a way. In a way, she's kind of like she's drowning to figure out who she is. Of course, her selling those little puppets, the dolls that she makes. And then, of course, you realize the plot later on. It's because she has the meta crisis in her.
Yeah. But I think to counter that point, I think she found herself. She found her setting in that episode with the meta crisis thing. I think she figured out who she is.
I think that's one of the reasons why I thought that, and to bounce off of that, I think one of the reasons why I think she would have fit in the Wild Blue Yonder is because the fact that she now knows who she is, the fact that she feels like herself, especially the fact that those creatures in the Wild Blue Yonder, the point is that they're trying to understand the laws and how things work in the physical space. Having somebody like Rose, who spent pretty much their entire life forced being growing up as a male and then transitioning to female, still feeling uncomfortable in their own body, to realizing, oh no, I had this huge power, this time, whatever this energy, this timeline energy that was passed on to me that affected me from not just a cellular, but from not genetic, but more of an internal makeup, to finally understanding who she was. I would have loved to have her in the Wild Blue Yonder still be like, maybe like Donna, find ways to outsmart those creatures because she now understands who she is as a person, to where when the creatures, they're trying to like, oh, my arm is too long, or they're bending around. Like it could have been like a good, actually that would have been too on point with the body, with the body symbolism. Yeah. Okay. Then think about it now. Yeah, that would have been too on point. But even then, yeah, they really made a big deal of it, just like they did with Ncuti being the first black African American, the first black man as a doctor. They made a big deal of that too, to where I'm going. I don't know how they did in the modern days. I mean, so looking back at it, they have made these public announcements. Even in the classic era, they did that too. But it wasn't as to a big thing as they did with the modern era. But that's another tangent. But then with Rose, just meeting her, I do like that with her character. The fact that she does feel like she struggles. It is more in the way you see how Donna is, how she is such a supporting parent. But even then with Rose, her character, yeah, needed more than just one episode with her. Just more than one episode.
Yeah, and in the trailer for one of the last few trailers for the episode, you see clearly a scene taken from the Giggle, and you see Rose there. But when you see the actual episode, she's not there. She was just added there in post production. Like again, she could have been there. She had so much to contribute. And I mean, just look at this. They purposely released this image of her and Shruti Gatwa together. So they made such a big story out of it. And she's not even with this doctor. She's not even they don't even meet on screen.
No.
At all.
I mean, it would have made a lot more sense if she really was in all 3 special episodes, because the fact is I think time back in, honestly, the fact that she did have this, the meta crisis was passed on to her, it would have made sense she was curious to actually learn more about this world.
Travel with the doctor.
Yeah, at least with Donna, a little with her mom. Sure, they did it in a way where Russell, I mean, actually, no, sure. I mean, she was curious, but she was stopped by Donna's mother. But even then, I could have been more like, no, she needs to know more. Like, the fact that she was born,
that's kind of her heritage too.
Yeah, it's her heritage. She was born with this. In a way, kind of like with River, she's in a way a child of the TARDIS. To where I'm like, let her travel with, not just the whole, don't drop a line to be like, oh, we traveled to Mars. Like, no. I want to show me travel, show her traveling.
Now, to play devil's advocate, the reason that they kept a second Doctor on Earth with David Tennant's 14th could be that they're planning more episodes with him and Donna's family. Could be, and maybe that would justify the big extravaganza of announcements that they did with Yasmin Finney taking on this role. Because I mean, she's already, in a way, she's kind of already replacing another companion of color, Sharon Davis, from the original Star Beast comic book.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, not talking about the direction that character went, because we're saving that for another episode. But she could have legit travels with this Doctor specifically, and I think they made such a big thing about David Tennant coming back and Catherine Tate coming back.
Yeah,
that I feel like those 3 episodes don't do it justice. I feel like they're saving for more. There's room for more with all those characters. But I mean, we talked about them often enough. Shruti Gatwa, our new doctor, our current doctor, as of the recording of this episode, as of the release of this episode, an episode and a half-ish, an episode and a bit. We got to see with him. What are your thoughts on him? I love this guy so far.
In a way, kind of like with Matt Smith, he immediately grew onto me. The fact that he immediately just grasped, like, more of the wild curiosity, chaotic energy of the Doctor. The fact that I like and ironically, the fact that he comes right after Tennant. The fact that the Tennant's character
and about the same age as Matt Smith.
Yeah. I think the comparisons, like looking at Ncuti, and I mean, just that little common thread to where they both come after Tennant, and where Tennant was so dragged down, like worn out, to where they're like this new youthful energy into the role. But then at the same time, I do like with Ncuti, even though, yes, I do love the line where he's like, oh, I'm younger than you, you're older than me now. I still even like the fact with Ncuti, he is just someone who has that wild wonder in him, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, I am born of something that was never meant to exist, the bi-generation, and because of that, it instills this new vantage, this new sense of adventure for him.
Yeah, they established firmly in that episode that he doesn't have the baggage that all the other doctors had. Even the first Doctor, they specifically referenced Mavic Chen and leaving Gallifrey for reasons that only the first Doctor knew. So all this baggage that the 14 other Doctors carried, 15 if you include the War Doctor.
15 and a half if you think of the Texas Doctor.
Well, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I know 15, yeah.
But this Doctor can now be free, be his own thing. And that's why they're kind of aiming for a soft reboot even going back to renaming the numbering of the season 1 or series 1.
I think the fact that this new Doctor Who series season is going to be in America is now going to be on Disney Plus. Be shooting and released in America.
Bright new future for the franchise.
Hopefully, don't know how long it might last, but let's hope. It does seem to be
That's
like
the intention. That's the intention.
It is the intention, but that's another thing for another time. But hopefully, you've seen with Shooty's like so far, we do see that with Shoot. Even that first episode, I like with Shooty with oh my god, the Miracle on Ruby Road. I do Church on Ruby Road. Wow. But even then, I like with Shooty, we're already seeing this character. Like, he's inventive. He's already very energetic. He's still a little, like, judgmental. Like, I love the fact that when he's yelling at Ruby, like, well, who just see the ladder over there and just runs towards it? Well, he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're that person who would do that.
And even in the intro, when he's tracking those goblins, I love that interaction he has with that policeman. To where, yes, he calls a policeman to report something, and then he realized, oh, looks like this ain't gonna happen. He's still going back, and I love that. I do love this one thing they brought back from the Eighth Doctor, to where he can kind of empathically see their future, and he does tell her like, oh, don't worry, she's gonna say yes. Like, what? Oh, the little engagement you got for your girlfriend, and she's like, well, why? Because I forgot the other thing, a few things he said. I believe he said because you're charming and you're cute. And he does say more about him. God damn it! I gotta rewatch the episode again. But
it's very new. You got to watch it several times to get it sticking.
I've only watched it 3 times, and I thought that was enough, but clearly it wasn't.
Okay, never mind.
I mean, it came out on Christmas, so I'm like, and it's available on Disney Plus, which I have, so I'm like, I can watch as much as I want. But even then, just that interaction he has with that one cop, there's just one stranger, and he's willing to tell him something reassuring and positive that's going to happen to him, and it's something I enjoyed.
Oh, and yeah, so I'm just gonna reiterate your points. I think this new Doctor has definitely won me over, much like Matt Smith. He won me over from his introduction with the bi-generation scene. It's like, oh, that's all I needed. That's a couple minutes of dialogue, a couple minutes of seeing on screen. Was like, yes, that's the Doctor. That let's go. And well, I do think that I think I said this on another episode of the show that the Church on Ruby Road is a bit of a step down, mainly because it's more Ruby focused and not as much Doctor focused. And the Doctor is my favorite character in this show, naturally, but
in a way, the 11th hour was definitely more Amy focused than Doctor focused, but they balanced it out by the time jump. I think the coincidences with Ruby, though, it's a way to explain why the Doctor is there. And I do like it's not a continuing thread, those coincidences with the goblins. Because that scene, because not only with that, I mean, it does feel like a step down, but even then, that scene when Ruby is ripped out of time and the Doctor is slowly piecing together what's going on. Just that moment, like those non-physical, the non-verbal cues that's coming from him, while the adoptive mother who's speaking in bitterly about her mom being there and how she's supposed to have her own life and how she's fine with it. Like Dr. Slowly piecing everything together. Like the subtle changes, like even the change in the lighting too, how when you see in that room, everything's all bright and sunny. Like the adoptive mother is great with this light that she has because Ruby was in it. Then when she's gone,
and all the pictures on the fridge.
The pictures of the fridge are gone. The mother, like even how she treats her own mom being there in the home. Like at first she's like, "Oh, mother, you're okay." Like they have a great relationship, and then the bitterness you hear in her voice, holding this baby, and the fact that at first she had all those children because Ruby inspired her to really want to be a parental figure. But then you hear when she's holding that child, oh, this is just nothing more than just a free check. Like you do hear that bitterness and change. And that small...
He doesn't have the connection with children anymore.
Exactly. And that fear that comes from Ncuti while he's hearing this, where, he like he says, why are you crying? Then why are you crying? Like, just, you can feel like that one moment, like, I love the fact that Doctor realizes that Ruby being gone wasn't just a random occurrence. She made an impact in not just her mom's life, but in 27 other lives that are now taken away. And I do
Mhm.
love the fact that he's the one that rushes back in time to save her, and he's the one to also put her back on that doorstep by the church to make sure that she is picked up. Like, he doesn't do anything else. Like, he doesn't stick around. Like, he didn't stick around to even make sure it worked. He just lays her back down, hoping things go back to plan. That's the one thing I like. He's willing to hopefully
Not
reset
interfering.
things, not interfere. And even then, I loved how, and then rewinding, and then going back in the episode when he and Ruby are on that ship, he's learning the language of rope. Like, this is a
Yeah,
doctor. Like, yes, I know a lot of stuff, but there's still something new I can learn.
yeah. And apparently, another thing I love about that scene, you mentioned the why are you crying? Apparently, emotions can carry across different timelines. Because that moment, what it reminds me of is in Vincent and the Doctor, when Van Gogh notices that Amy's crying, not knowing why, and of course, we as the audience and the Doctor knows that she's crying about Rory, who died and got taken out of time.
Yeah.
Very similar to what happened with Ruby in this episode.
Yeah, those subtle little those subtle threads are fantastic. And
And
of
Nardole
course,
says that the Doctor never notices the tears. Shame on you, Nardole.
mm, really ridiculous. But I do agree in some senses. Maybe Ruby Road may have been a step down, but also, I mean, the fact that it's the first episode, like, oh, we want to learn more about the Doctor, but then unfortunately, it's kind of like that balance. It needs the balance where you learn more about the companion and the Doctor.
The
I
companion has always been the audience's eyes into this universe.
Exactly. But I think because this series has been around so long, we've kind of lost that to now we need to learn more about the companion. Because one thing with Maximus Doctor, I will tie back to with Amy Pond. At the time with Series 5, I didn't know that they had like some small mini episodes released on YouTube. And there was one episode that was released right after um, the Weeping Angels, to where, when she kisses the Doctor and the Doctor takes her into her TARDIS. There is a follow up to where the Doctor says is that I've traveled in time and space so long that I'm starting to look at it like a backyard. But it's something that, I forgot what it's called, but I don't know if it's available on YouTube, but it could be there. But it's that one line that Matt Smith delivers, to where, like, you're in a backyard and everything's looking all brand new, but then you get used to it. Now it's just a backyard. That's how time and space is nowadays. I'm seeing it just as simply as a backyard. But it kind of reiterates why the Doctor always brings in new companions, not just because of a change of scenery, but because he always wants to keep that wonder of the universe. Now, we don't have that yet with Ncuti, because, like you said, he doesn't have that baggage anymore of the previous Doctors. So the fact that he's learning the language of rope kind of shows that there is always something more to learn out there. Even then, learning how the goblins were able to feed off of, setting up coincidences in order to feed their goblin king. Like, still something new. I mean, the language of rope was something of new and wonder that was useful to the Doctor, but then he learns through the coincidences how something of language like this can be used for dark purposes. Even if it's something for goblins looking to survive and travel in time. I'm like, no, it's something I do see that with the Doctor. Like, you do see there's that balance there. That there's something wonderful to learn, but then there's something horrifying to learn out there. I think that's one thread of pickup I took away from Shooties in that one episode.
Yeah, and that episode you were referencing is called "Meanwhile in the TARDIS," and it's between 11th Hour and Beast Below.
But then there were two more. Honestly, there's one between Stone. It's between after.
I'm not seeing any on the wiki or the other wiki.
I remember it's there because there was also one where there's another mini episode where the Doctor is trying to take River on a date, and then River comes across seeing two different versions of Matt Smith.
There's several versions of that. Night and the Doctor.
Night, yeah. Like, there is, maybe it was just an extended clip. I don't know. I just came across it on YouTube years ago before Series 6, when Series 5 was still brand new out there. Maybe I'll look for it some other time. But beyond that, with Shooties, I do look forward to seeing what else is coming there. And I do also like at the end of that episode, where Ncuti really was thinking, with his character as the Doctor, when he's talking with the neighbor, I do love he's contemplating, should I bring her on? Because she was gonna have questions. Clearly, after he fixed everything, it wasn't to where like he was ready to pop up and leave. He was really sitting with that. He was wrestling with it. Like, should I bring her aboard? Because he knows the whole thing. She's gonna have questions now. She's gonna want to know who I am. Especially after that insane adventure by saving her adoptive daughter or her adoptive sister. She's gonna have questions, and I do love how he's slowly taking his time to get back to the TARDIS to go like, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the bad luck.
And he's got experience with Rose Tyler. Like as soon as you figure out that he's got a time machine, she's gonna want to know who her real mother is.
Yeah. And even then, one thing with Jodie, like with Yash, Yash wanted to go back in time to learn about her grandmother.
Yeah, and I love that after he saves Ruby, he sees Ruby's mother walking away, and he chooses not to chase after her. He goes
Yeah.
back to figure out to see if modern day Ruby is okay.
Yeah.
So, question before we wrap up: who do you think Ruby's mother is, and who do you think Mrs. Flood is? It's kind of a mandatory at this point.
Honestly, at this point, because it's Russell, I don't care. I thought Mrs. Flood was just gonna be a simple write-off, a simple one-off, like somebody who was bitter, then saw the TARDIS, and then she warms up a little bit, but then of course that little cut to the camera where she breaks the fourth wall. I thought, oh, that's just
Have you ever seen a TARDIS before?
That itself, I'm like, that was sticking my craw. And then Russell did reveal, oh no, she's gonna be a continuing thread. I'm guessing with Mrs. Flood, I don't know. Who she is, I'm honestly stumped. I don't know who she is. I have no guesses. But regarding Ruby's mom, a part of me is just hoping she's just a regular person at the time who just could not, maybe kind of like in a regular human story, wasn't ready to be a mom or just didn't feel equipped for it. But the fact that we don't see who she is though does leave a lot to it. So maybe Ruby has some ties to maybe the mom worked for Unit. Uh, you know,
Yeah, because in the weeks and months before this episode even aired, while it was still being filmed, there were people just running around with the camera phones and posting leaks online. And there's a legitimate moment of someone leaked it online of just Ruby running towards someone yelling, "Mom, mom!" It's like she knows who her mom is and she's talking to her. Now, of course, it could be the adopted mother. Let's put that on the table as well.
yeah,
But there are leaked photos of Millie Gibson and Gemma Redgrave sitting in a restaurant together filming scenes, which sparked, of course, it got the internet wondering again. It sparked the rumor mill of what if Ruby's mom is Kate Stewart?
hmm.
So even before the episode aired, people were already speculating about that. That is a story for another time.
Yes, it is.
I only got there. So this was a lot of fun. It went on way longer than I thought it would.
Well,
Good thing
yeah,
finished
I
it
wanted
early.
to stay strict, but at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, it's companions. We're gonna
I
have
mean,
a
once,
to say.
once we start talking, it's impossible to stop talking about this stuff. There's just so much to cover.
Yes.
So, Ryan, my good friend, where can the good people of the interwebs find you? Are you still doing stuff, by the way? We haven't chatted about it.
Yes, I actually am. Just right at last month, around December, I've restarted my wrestling podcast with my friends James Shimo and Brent McPherson. It's called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages Podcast. Um, it is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I mean, but if you don't, it's also available on Spotify, where you can find our old episodes. We now have new avenues now where it's available on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. That's where you'll see mostly our new episodes. But our old episodes, they're still available on Apple and Spotify and Google Podcasts. And we have restarted to where we're trying to get more concurrent episodes out. We currently have episodes out where we did a best of and worst of 2023 moments. We also did our own, well, if you're wrestling fans, this past month in January, there was the Royal Rumble. We did our predictions who we thought was going to win that. My friend James did of course, with WrestleMania coming up, before the Royal Rumble, my friend James, he did an episode to where he pre-booked to where he thought how Cody should finish the story of capturing the championship. But those following WrestleMania is definitely a different story, though. But you can check out our episode and see how James would have gone. We do have more coming up very soon. We're recording some right now this month, at least at the time of this podcast. So hopefully, at the time of this podcast, we should have some episodes out to where I did myself a fantasy booking style of how an AEW faction would be booked as heels. I'm just not gonna spoil it. I'm gonna throw it out there, like tease it.
Cool. And you can find me every week. I keep saying every Monday, but last couple of weeks, it's just been whenever I had time. But you can find me every week, hopefully every week, doing this show, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, where we talk about the greatest show in the galaxy, Doctor Who. And you can also find me, again, scheduling is a bit of a nightmare right now, but we try to reach every Thursday on this channel with Fun with Flags. Me and my good friend Soda are teaching each other about each other's respective countries. Every week he teaches me something I didn't know about Canada, and I teach him something he didn't know about Israel. And you can also check out all the other wonderful channels from the wider Benverse at large. I like our good friend Taco's channel, Something to Talk About, Galaxy Geeks, Multiverse of Geekdom, Movie Lovers Unite, The Midnight Cinema, 8-Time Reviews, and as per usual, In the Front Row, which is still not pictured on this thumbnail. So that has been us. And next episode, not going to say next week, next episode, we're going to the wonderful world of the classic series and talking about people of color from the classic era. So that should be a lot of fun. And until then, everybody, in the words of Missy herself,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Goodbye.